Ya, podcast ini dibawakan khas kepada anda oleh WWF Malaysia, sebuah organisasi pemuliharaan yang berdedikasi untuk melindungi alam semula jadi Malaysia, dari hutan hujan tropika dan orang hutan yang comel hinggalah ke terumbu karang serta penyu di lautan.
Menjelang pilihan raya umum negeri Sabah ke-17 penghujung tahun ini, WWF Malaysia ingin menjemput rakyat Sabah yang berdaftar sebagai pengundi untuk mengutarakan pendapat tentang isu alam sekitar yang memberikan kesan kepada anda. Seterusnya, bersama-sama berganding bahu membentuk sebuah Sabah yang mampan, one vote at a time. Together possible.
Jom kenali kami di seluruh sosial media kami hari ini atau terus saja ke www.org.my. Dan what's the, we don't have music for this guy? We do have.
Yeah.
Did I prepare the music again? I did.
You did.
Pakis!
Right now, we're facing a man-made disaster of global scale. Our greatest threat in thousands of years, climate change. If we don't take action, the collapse of our civilizations and the extinction of much of the natural world is on the horizon.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Ricardo.
Dan saya Kenny.
Kami dari Kinabalu Podcast, the number one podcast in Sabah.
Super legit.
Tiada yang paling legit lagi selain daripada bantuan kita kepada apa yang kita boleh bantu di sekitar kita lah.
Ya, betul-betul. Yang alam sekitar ini sangat memerlukan
Saya belum cakap alam sekitar tadi. Di sekitar kita saya.
Sekitar kita saja?
Ya, belum lagi.
Saya terus.
Okay, bagus.
Sebab saya, my mindset is for our nature.
Oh, wow. Amazing. That's good. That's good. What did you do for your nature actually? What is your campaign or what do you
I don't do campaigns.
Okay.
But as a individual, I support whatever NGOs, our activists, what they are doing lah. For example, macam hari tu saya cakap, I donated for the wildlife. And I am an advocate for beach cleaning juga.
Alright.
Ya, walaupun saya tidak pergi.
Okay.
Tapi saya donate lah.
Okay lah.
We don't have the time to go actually. Yeah.
But if we do have, kalau kita ada masa pun kita nampak sampah kita pungut juga lah.
Kan? Betul.
Kalau dah nanti tu penyu makan tu plastik kan, kesian please penyu.
Kesian.
Yeah.
That's why we are advocates.
Yeah, but anyway, thank you very much WWF because this is our second episode with them and we are so stoked and actually very intrigued to dive in lagi dalam lah ni kali kan.
Betul. And we need to know more about their punya conservation effort. Bukan saja di Sabah tapi also in Malaysia. Tapi kita zoom in on Sabah kan sebenarnya. Dan
ini benda-benda begini ni dia bukan awareness yang secara peribadi juga. Sebab dia melibatkan orang-orang atasan juga. Have to mesti. Sebab pembentukan sesebuah kerajaan tu dia punya policy perlu melibatkan orang bilang something to do with the nature as well, the environment as well, the wildlife as well. Begitu juga pembangunan di Sabah ni, saya rasa kita perlu mengikuti garis panduan ataupun guideline yang sepatutnya.
Betul, kita punya pembangunan kena seiring dengan conservation. Macam saya macam saya kerja di sana sudah. It's the research that we read lah. Kena seiring dengan conservation nature lah.
Betul
di sekeliling kita.
Ya, sebab makin banyak pembangunan, makin banyak juga memang betul pun tidak terkonserv. Contohnya hidupan mungkin habitat terganggu. Macam pembikinan Pan Borneo for example, adakah orang mengikuti? We don't know. Okay. That's why kita ada special person hari ini ataupun beberapa guest kita daripada WWF. Please welcome to the studio. Let me just introduce the person himself, which is Max. So Max ni adalah Max Onisius, Senior Manager and Produce Pillar Lead WWF Malaysia Sabah Landscape. Dia adalah Scotland punya graduates. Accountancy. So dia kira berapa banyak binatang mungkin dia, I don't know. But and also dia juga adalah dia bersama-sama dengan WWF sejak 2006.
Wow, into the future.
That's Max. Another one
is we have Charlene in the studio, which is her role is as a social development manager in WWF Malaysia's Sabah Landscape Program.
Yeah, welcome to the studio, both of you.
Thank you very much for having us.
How does it feel to be in the podcast?
Why first timer ni?
You have to be
Nervous,
closer to the mic. Okay.
Nervous kah? Jangan nervous.
Kami
jangan
try
nervous.
kasih cool sudah tadi intro tu supaya kamu cool saja kan. But anyway, thank you for having us for the second one. We would love to dive in actually. To be frank, memang literally ingin tahu lebih lanjut lagi tentang beside just the campaign, but you guys punya roles di WWF. Let's start with Max dulu. Kita kenal dulu lah. Max,
Okay, iyalah.
boleh kan Max?
Okay.
Asal mana
Okay.
bos?
Saya sebenarnya asal dari Papar, tapi saya kena beranak di Jepang. Di Beaufort.
Beaufort.
From Beaufort as well.
Kira Beaufort jumpa Beaufort ni kali ya.
Yeah.
Yes, berganding tenaga.
Alright. So you grew up in Beaufort as well atau macam mana di Papar?
Mungkin dalam first 10 years saya di Beaufort. Then saya move PKK lah. So I've been staying di KK ni ever since lah.
So kau boleh cakap kau orang KK lah.
Orang KK lah.
Yeah.
Lain lah.
Tapi berapa lama kau di hutan? Okay, how long have you been with 2006 and then kau punya background is in accountancy. How does it work actually?
Wow.
What happened?
Yeah. That question selalu orang tanya. Dia bilang, you an accountant? Dia bilang, tapi kenapa you work in this line? So I always bilang it's by accident. Okay, all the time. Previously, I was working in a bank, and other companies juga lah. And 2006, I left the job.
Okay.
And my previous job lah. And WWF at the time, dorang mau cari somebody with business background.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
Because they deal with macam kinabatangan. That was my first project actually.
Okay.
They want somebody with business background to engage with the tourism people.
I see.
And I happen to have that lah.
Okay.
And it started just actually 3 months.
Alright.
Oh.
As a consultant. 3 months, then become 6 months, then become 1 year. Sampai sekarang lah.
What? 2016,
Yeah.
10 to almost like 20 years old. Almost
20
now.
years, 20 years,
Yeah.
about 20 years lah. Started dealing with the tourism,
Okay.
engaging with them.
Okay.
Then my colleague at the time, they left, and then there was a vacuum lah, engaging with the oil palm
Okay.
sector.
Right.
So I have the business background because I speak the business language.
Alright. Okay.
I see.
You know, talking to these people, they're talking of business. At the end of the day, dorang cakap pasal business, pasal the bottom line.
Alright.
So that's where I come in lah.
I
So
see.
slowly belajar sikit, pasal palm oil,
Okay.
pasal dia punya standards.
Okay.
So sampai sekarang lah.
Wow.
Wow, kira you fell in love with the job lah kan?
Yeah, I think this is one of the best job lah.
I see.
Previously, saya punya my son, they never told the friends, oh, my father is an accountant.
Okay.
But because I work for WWF,
Dia-
dia kasih tahu teacher dia bilang kan, do you know that elephant? Dia bilang, dia bilang, do you know what is WWF? Oh, dia bilang, WWF, they take care about the elephant. Dia cakap. And my father takes care of the elephant. Dia bilang.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
proud of
So proud.
my work.
Wow. Amazing. How about you, Charlene?
Yeah. So my background is actually I'm not coming from environment background, tapi dulu saya kerja dengan NGO juga, tapi dia lebih kepada isu sosial dan
social
lebih
issues.
banyak dengan community, pembangunan community.
I see.
Jadi that's why my role in WWF now is pengurus pembangunan sosial, di mana saya lebih fokus untuk berkomunikasi dengan community, buat program bersama diorang, terutama sekali program yang di mana WWF ada buat aktiviti konservasi yang melibatkan community, terutama sekali dengan orang asal lah, kalau di Sabah ya. So macam si Max, dia tengok bahagian sustainability. Saya pun lihat sustainability di bahagian orang bilang people pillar ya. Yang lebih melibatkan hands on dan
reach
outreach
out.
semua ya. So At the same time kami juga bukan saja kami bukan saja lihat daripada konservasi tapi juga melihat dari aspek perlindungan komuniti, di mana sebab WWF actually saya punya role di WWF ni dia lebih kepada inclusive conservation ataupun konservasi yang menyeluruh, di mana kami juga melibatkan komuniti sebagai pihak berkepentingan untuk bersama-sama menjaga alam sekitar dan juga biodiversity kita. Ya.
So kira WWF dia bukan jaga binatang dan juga dia jaga orang jugalah. Yeah, that's right, and the connection of it lah.
Yeah.
Because yang buat hal ni sebenarnya orang.
Ya, betul.
Kan binatang dia just live the habitat kan. Kan.
Betul. So the main kita fokuskan pada problem dia lah.
Ya, betul.
So the problem we bring them together as a solution lah. So di sana lah kita punya approach.
Okay.
Wow.
We were advised that macam Max is handling the Sabah Landscape Program, for example like the sawit. What we can talk about it? Adakah kita punya company ni kadang dorang perlu ikut guideline yang kami ada bercerita dengan Dr. Rebecca hari tu.
Pelupuk nama tu.
Jangan.
Sorry.
I mean memang banyak company yang doing it right now. So do you think that macam the guidelines ni dorang follow?
Okay, let me start with the Sabah Landscapes program.
Okay.
So Sabah Landscapes program is their combined conservation and also the sustainable development.
Okay.
And kami punya approach is on a landscape approach. And we have these 3 pillars lah.
Okay.
The protect pillar maksudnya you protect whatever forest that we have.
Okay.
Protect and enhance.
Okay.
Right. That's protect. The produce pillar where I lead is about producing sustainable palm oil. Okay. And the last one is restoration. Restoration is about restoring the apa ini kita panggil wildlife corridor. Tree planting, connecting fragmented forest. So those are the 3 pillars lah.
Okay.
Protect, produce, and restore. And so coming back to kau punya soalan pasal are they following? So in general so in Sabah ni
they are not.
Yes.
Heavy claim, man.
So that's dorang punya selalu.
Okay.
Because I started engaging with the industry since 2007 2008 begitulah.
Okay.
And most of the time they will say this is my land, I can do apa saya mau buat lah,
whatever I want
right?
lah,
Yeah.
gitu.
But then at the end of the day there are people yang mau they want sustainable palm oil. So itu message will come from them to the from the supermarket will come back to here lah, because we are the
consumer,
the producer.
The producer. Okay.
So whether you like it or not, you have to follow that. That's the trend coming. So you have to follow. So in terms of certification, I mean in terms of the standards, there are 2 standards lah for Malaysia at this moment. MSPO, this Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil. So itu mandatory. Kau suka atau tidak suka, you have to follow. Right?
Alright.
And
ini
then
apply to all of Malaysia sebenarnya. Alright.
So it's mandatory. Right?
Okay.
So that one dia baru-baru lah, 2015, 2016 begitu. And then the other one is international standard is the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil, RSPO.
Okay.
So these are the 2 the standards that kita guna pakai dia lah di dalam industri ini. Dan RSPO dia more on dia macam volunteer lah. Right? Volunteer punya voluntary bukan volunteer. Voluntary punya standard.
I see.
And
kita boleh ikut lah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So big companies macam di Sabah ni kan, 26-27% of the oil palm area in Sabah, they are RSPO certified.
Okay.
And
how many percent again?
About 26-27% begitulah.
Macam sikit juga.
Masih sikit.
Actually.
Ya, masih sikit.
And itu dia punya percentage itu has been at that for
Quite a long time.
Quite a long time. Why? Because these are the big companies. So yang medium size, the smallholders too, they don't have because it requires a lot of
money. Of course.
So that's the reason why they are stagnant today di sana.
Okay.
So this is where we would like to engage with with the industry so that itu percentage will increase.
Okay.
Right? And how you do that is through kita panggil bottom up and top bottom approach lah.
I see.
Right?
How is
Bawah
that?
pun approach, atas pun approach lah.
For example, my work, our work in the produce pillar, we engage at the government level juga. Because we need government to have that pull factor.
Because dorang yang buat di sana kan semua.
Yeah. And then we work at the landscape level macam di Tawau, di Tabin, how kita inspire them, encourage them to go for certification. Macam saya bilang tadi kan MSPO sudah military kan. So you upscale sikit lah pergi RSPO if they want to do it. So that's how we work. Bawah and this one
top and bottom.
Yeah. So hopefully it will
Okay. Tapi dah boleh kisah mandatory juga tu the rest of it.
Good question.
Yeah.
So
dorang jangan buka ladang lah kalau dia dah ikut tu kan. Kasih approve lah.
So MSPO is mandatory.
Okay.
And for Sabah, it's a little bit progressive than the rest of
Malaysia.
Malaysia.
The rest,
And actually, one of the 3 landscape or area in the whole wide world yang sudah pledge to have RSPO 100%.
Okay. Is Sabah.
Yeah. So one Sabah.
Okay. Wow.
The second one yang pledge itu was in the Indonesia. It's in Kalimantan.
Thought so too.
Yeah. And then the third one is Ecuador.
Okay.
So far baru 3 ni in the whole wide world yang bilang I want to go for RSPO certification.
Because I think why, because dorang ini 3 antara paling banyak pengeluaran palm plantation paling banyak lah.
Yeah.
So that's where Sherlyn came in lah. To meet up with the people, arrange with the program, is it?
So like Max said just now, ada 3 pillar kan. So I'm more on the people social punya part, which I cross cut. So in produce, I mostly support Max work in terms of engaging with the community, especially community yang ada di dalam ladang.
Okay.
So dalam ladang ni dia bukan saja ada smallholder, sebab biasanya smallholder ni dia pemilik tanah ataupun pemilik ladang. Jadi dalam ladang ni kita ada community yang tinggal di sana, iaitu pekerja, lepas tu dorang punya dependent macam isteri, anak-anak, dan juga ada juga mungkin alternative learning center ataupun sekolah community di sana. So di sana yang kami kumpulan saya lah especially untuk meninjau dan juga buat observation dan juga outreach community sana untuk lihat di mana sokongan yang dorang perlu. Contohnya ada kanak-kanak yang mungkin susah untuk mau pergi ke CLC yang sekolah community itu sebab memang jarak semua, sebab kalau dari dorang punya tempat tinggal tu mau pergi di sekolah lagi baru mau pergi tempat biasanya ada dorang punya kenderaan lah di mana dorang mau berkumpul sudah 8 km. Lepas tu mau pergi sekolah lagi 8 km.
Ada yang perlu sungai lagi?
Sungai lain lagi jalan yang tidak betul.
Have you been to those places?
Yep.
Baru
saya masuk pun sudah saya gini-gini. Memang jalan disco lah, betul-betul.
Jalan disco.
Kalau hujan lagi ada lagi kau punya risiko untuk landslide.
Terkubur semua kan.
So imagine those kids untuk mau pergi sekolah yang guna, kadang-kadang bapa dorang yang hantar guna motor and then with those becak-becak punya road. Memang it's a very challenge to the point yang I think sometimes parents also questioning like if is this sustainable, like to send them to school and then
malas dulu hantar.
Like kalau dia pergi sekolah pun last jadi macam kita. Tapi sometimes with more awareness yang macam biasanya kami work with ada partners lah untuk bagi awareness, dan juga buat masa ini kami punya work is more on lihatlah apa yang kekurangan dari aspek sana. So macam kalau ada yang dorang macam perlu buat peninjauan sama ada sustainable kah kalau mau buka sekolah sini, sebab kalau mau buka sekolah community sini tapi dia punya cabaran yang mau hantar lagi tu ada, itu yang kami perlu fill in the gap lah.
So do you guys work with KPM for example, any ada enforcement ataupun any agency?
So mostly we try to engage with consulate because kebanyakan pekerja dalam ladang adalah Indonesia kan, pekerja Indonesia. So that's why because biasanya kalau JPN Jabatan Pelajaran Negeri memang bukan dorang punya jurisdiction lah. So biasanya itu adalah consulate because kanak-kanak Indonesia kan.
Yeah. I see.
Is it I'm intrigued. Is it dangerous going in there? Adakah dorang beri kerjasama yang bagus? Are they being,
It depends. Again, kalau dari aspek sosial kita perlu utamakan ini FPIC ataupun dia punya bahasa, maklum awal, izin maklum awal dan balas bebas dan tulus. FPIC dia free
dari
prior
kursus itu yang kita belajar ya.
So FPIC ni kami buat adalah untuk membuat satu pendekatan ataupun kita mau consult lah community secara face to face, transparent, and juga kau perlu bagi tahu apa semua yang sebenarnya tujuan kau lah. So biasanya kalau dengan Max, because Max work closely with the smallholders, so biasanya kami akan jumpa dorang punya pemilik ladang dulu. Macam okay bos, kami mau masuk ni ladang, kamu punya apa di kawasan ini untuk tujuan sekian-sekian. Jadi kalau dia bilang okay boleh, and then kami akan bersama dengan tim kami lah masuk. So kalau mau cakap dangerous tu so far bila berhadapan dengan community tidak jugalah. Bagi kerjasama, cuma mungkin kau punya kau punya pendekatan. Kalau kau yang jenis yang tidak sabar, mungkin susah sikit. Kau memang perlu ada kesabaran yang tinggi sebab satu-satu kau mau explain, kadang-kadang mungkin dorang pun takut lah sebab biasanya ini mungkin lain angle lagi, audit begitu, dorang takutkan yang sama ada mau cek sama ada dorang ada permit ke tidak, itu another angle lah. So biasanya kami akan explain lah, kami sini bukan mau audit, ini just macam
kami enggak lagi mau audit.
Mungkin saya actually ladang community di ladang still baru untuk saya lah. Kadang-kadang terpaksa jugalah, tapi saya punya tim memang sangat pro.
Pandai lah.
Memang dorang memang biasa sudah dorang tahu apa slang mau guna. Kadang-kadang saya pun macam belajar juga, tapi at the same time because I mostly tengok yang macam the management of it, how do we want, what framework ataupun approaches, and then the rest of the field work I have my team lah untuk macam overseeing more on the engagement with the community. So tapi kalau mau cakap bahaya atau tidak, tidak juga lah. It depends on macam mana.
Basically itu jalan raya lagi bahaya kan?
Actually, betul. Kadang-kadang mau tengok weather punya dulu. Kalau fokus. Kalau jalan. Kalau tidak, mungkin ada risiko ni, janganlah.
Waktu hujan, janganlah lumpur.
So back to you Max. You going to cover kira macam to the upper level and also the bottom level. What is the level we are having now in terms of reaching out to the
smaller companies,
these companies yang ni lah. How do you approach these people? Kadang-kadang ni I do believe because kita punya land ni so massive, so besar kan. And also memang ada, I do believe, jangan bohong, mesti ada di dalam ni yang tiada permit, tiada apa pergi tanam kan. Mesti ada. And also bila check big people ni actually big people, orang-orang kaya yang not even in Sabah pun. Right? All this apa toki besar lah kira.
Tidak tahu siapa kan.
So how do you macam how do you scale it down and your macam mana kau kasih ni to reach them and then kasih advocate this thing?
So the big companies normally because they have the resources kan, so they will go for certification. So in our case, we also advocate for MSPO because it's Malaysian kan, so we support that and towards RSPO. So the big ones they're okay.
Tiada masalah.
Basically they see it as license to trade.
Okay.
Because they have to sell their punya product kan.
Yeah.
So
Betul,
that means
betul.
they need to have that standards. So the challenge for us yang ialah untuk yang medium size grower. Medium size growers maksudnya ada yang 50 hektar dan ke atas.
Okay.
Tapi tiada mill. So that is definition dia middle size growers.
Okay.
Smallholders are yang 50 yang ke bawah.
And below.
Right?
I see.
So dorang ni memang dorang punya challenge adalah cost. Because certification, kau mau kasih prepare yourself, it requires
Mau kasih
cost.
cost lagi.
Ya, ya, ya.
Ya.
So how macam mana kita mau supaya dorang ni get on board on
Same line
certification,
lah. Okay.
right? So is to address itu dorang punya issue tu. Apa problem dorang?
Okay.
Cost.
Okay.
So since saya cakap MSPO is mandatory kan,
Okay.
so mau tidak mau you
Kena
have to
ada
do it.
juga.
That means
Okay.
you have to spend money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why don't we do it as a group?
Okay.
So kalau dulu kita bayar RM100,
Okay.
sekarang kita ada 10 orang, RM10
ringgit
saja kan.
Ah.
So that's how we
Oh.
work. Kita group dorang
Okay.
supaya itu cost boleh
Okay.
boleh share lah.
Okay.
Right?
Cost efficient lah.
Yeah. Because you still have to
Wajib kan,
Yeah,
mandatory,
wajib,
yeah.
right? So that's how we do it.
So di company gabung.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but oleh kerana resources very limited, seorang we cannot be everywhere. So we do macam pilot lah.
Okay.
Ada sini
Alright.
sikit. So they become like building blocks, if
Okay,
you like,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
And
Macam di sawit juga lah. Dia punya blok semua.
yeah. So bila kita bilang okay, this one is okay,
Ini
kita
okay.
buat ini satu
Okay.
lagi, ini satu. So then we communicate.
Okay.
Kalau kau buat begini, then you can reduce your cost.
Okay.
Right? So that's how we work from the from the from ground lah, grown up. And then for the at the state level, so this is where myself, si Shalane, we work at the we call it the jurisdiction steering committee,
Okay.
jurisdiction certification steering committee, JCSC.
Okay.
So this is a combination of government, the business, and the NGO, equal representation. lah.
Alright.
So that's where we talk about we talk about labor, for example,
Alright.
right? At the highest level, and then we talk about certification. How do we comply as a state?
Okay.
So this yang jurisdiction saya cakap ini is meaning maksudnya kan dia bukan company by company punya certification
Okay.
saja, but Sabah as a whole.
Oh, as a whole.
So imagine if you go certification, contohnya company A, you go to that company, you do the audit. So bila sudah pas, company A dapat itu certification. But in this case, the whole of Sabah. So dia panggil the jurisdiction approach on for sustainable palm oil, JASPO initiative. So maksudnya kalau everybody is ready,
Yep.
audit datang, the certificate will go to
Everyone.
to Sabah.
To Sabah itself.
Sabah,
Yeah, in
but
whole.
it's for everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
lah. So that's how we work. The big ones,
Okay.
the
Also.
medium,
And
and
also
the small. So inclusive lah.
Inclusive terus
Yeah,
sampai.
yeah. So that's how we
Efficient
approach it
lah, efficient.
Yeah.
So that in that way boleh capai 100% lah.
Yeah. We hope to have that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, good nak take a short break. Kita akan cerita dengan Shalin dengan Max lagi tentang apa sebenarnya kerja diorang ni. To be frank, aku masih mau cuba-cuba ni. Tapi I do understand. But kita mau cerita kenapa kepentingan diorang ni selepas ini. Kenapa apa pentingnya orang bilang ni macam mana kita dapat sustainable palm oil dan juga dalam masa yang sama menjaga biodiversity kita.
Yes,
Dan ke mana-mana kita akan kembali selepas ini. Selamat kembali ke slot kedua bersama dengan rakan-rakan daripada WWF, iaitu dari Max dan juga Shalin. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Max, saya mau tanya, since you are handling this palm oil most of the time, how does this, apa orang bilang, how do you think sustainable palm oil can help to protect Sabah punya biodiversity?
Okay. So first thing, the palm oil is palm oil.
Alright.
Right. So the difference between sustainable palm oil and the conventional, it's the apalah. It's a practice how you produce it.
Okay.
So itu palm oil lah kan.
Yalah, betul juga.
Minyak lah.
Yeah, minyak. Because you see, in order for us to develop ini kelapa sawit, first you need land.
Oh, betul.
Right?
Mesti.
Land, and then you have to clear the land, you have to tanam the
Clear the hutan lah.
Yeah. And then you tanam itu kelapa sawit, dan you need pekerja.
Betul.
Pekerja, and mostly kita punya pekerja ni ya dari dari Indonesia, right? So the sustainable part of it is where ini land
Okay.
and pekerja, right? So maksudnya kita mesti menjaga dia punya how it is produced,
Okay.
right? Dan siapa yang produce pekerja?
Okay.
So kita mesti jaga dia punya rights,
Okay.
the human rights, the
Oh,
labor rights,
okay.
and environment. Kita mesti mau jaga itu environment
Okay,
juga.
itu yang penting tu.
Contohnya jangan kita clear and then plant right to the end of your land,
Okay.
near the river.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, because you just imagine kalau itu pokok sudah tinggi, dia punya di bawah itu pun dia licin loh, macam juga
Ya.
kita punya ini, dia licin, right?
Kepala
Because
Okay, I get it.
matahari tidak
Yeah.
dapat,
Okay.
so dia clear. So maksudnya whatever you apply on that land, kalau hujan datang, they will wash off and go to the water.
Ya.
It will
Dia
affect the
terhakis.
water lah.
Oh.
Terhakis.
The hakisan tu. So those are the example lah. Okay. Ada lagi cara.
Banyak akan rosak lah. The sungai akan rosak, the hidupan dalam sungai rosak.
Exactly, yeah.
Itu the landscape pun akan rosak.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I see.
So that is the
Macam
reason why.
banyak saya tu tanam begitu.
Yeah, let me let me tell you a story lah kira.
Okay. Potong sikit.
I mean, I've seen small estate owners. Dia orang ada buat itu juga sawit, but at the same time they do recreational punya tempat juga bah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So ada tempat-tempat dia orang yang dekat dengan sungai. So when they do yang di sungai punya recreation, you see dia orang punya palm oil is right next to the river,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
actually tidak boleh lah begitu kan.
Yeah.
So there's a lot lah saya nampak.
Yeah.
Saya tidak mau mention
Itu
di mana
sungai.
lah.
How about saya potong pula tadi kan.
Yeah.
How about the jalan raya yang kena buat ni? Adakah diorang boleh tanam yang 1 meter sudah ada tu ataupun 2 meter atau macam how? Sebab banyak kan kita punya orang bilang road kills ni juga, yang binatang-binatang yang hidupan liar kita ni yang terlanggar baru-baru ni, macam di Semenanjung the gajah tu kan. Kesian tau.
Yeah.
So ada macam mana dia punya guideline di situ tu?
Okay. Kalau cerita dari segi gajah, wildlife lah kan. So Sabah has a very good example of managing that. Bukan maksudnya ada yang banyak yang tidak bagus. Tapi kita kasih keluar apa yang kebaikannya, apa yang bagus tu.
The good practices
the good
lah,
practices lah. The company that we are working on di Tawau. And then also in apa itu in Tabin. Dorang they set aside land. Okay, of course it didn't happen lah.
Okay.
So certification ini kan it's a marathon lah.
Okay.
It's not a sprint. So you have to do it
One by one.
Step by step
lah.
step.
So we work with this company for a long time, and then eventually saya rasa dorang pun nampak ada kebaikannya juga lah, give land.
Terbuka hati lah.
Terbuka hati, ya.
Oh.
So dorang give okay to buat wildlife corridor.
Alright.
To connect two fragmented forest.
Fragmented forest, right.
So that ada ini
Laluan.
laluan kaki lima apa kita
Ya,
panggil
ya,
kan.
ya.
Kaki lima, ya.
So that itu elephant, bukan saja elephant actually, the orang hutan pun can move. So this is something bukan lagi macam theory. If you go to the ground ada sudah. So
And
Sabah,
they're using it lah.
And they're using it already.
Okay, that's good.
So in Tabin pun ada.
Baik.
In Kinderbatangan pun ada. So that is the reason why kita buat yang saya bilang itu, kita buat as menyeluruh, as a landscape approach.
Okay.
So that this thing can happen.
Okay.
I can work with the the growers, the palm plantation, and Shalane can work with the people, and then and my other colleague on Protect Pillar too, they can work with the government on protecting that area, get it gazetted, and then kalau ada yang connectivity tu, then my other colleague yang tanam pokok tu, dia beli tanam pokok, kasih restore lah, itu forest. So that way we work secara menyeluruh.
Betul.
So if you go to Tawau, I can proudly say that we have all this.
Okay.
Apa itu, the industry, the people, we work together, and apa itu, we have this, bang.
You know what, Max? I think nobody knows about this. Do you even know that they actually go to this level doing it? Yeah.
You know what? If you asked me a few weeks before this, I wouldn't have known. I only heard from people from WWF or from podcasts. Recently, I saw pictures. I think it was posted by an NGO. I think it's WWF lah. It was a news article clipping. Yang they are implementing the corridors, and there's a picture of the corridor, which at first glance I thought it was apa ni? Oh, ini diorang dia ni di apa ni, lubang sungai ni.
Rupanya dia punya laluan.
Dia punya laluan. And they were taking pictures there. Yeah, so it was amazing lah to see.
So kira memang berlaku dan it is kira in action right now.
It is
amazing.
So this sustainability palm oil ni kan, it sounds really good. It's protecting the environment.
The biodiversity,
Yeah. I'm curious about macam mana dia benefit kita punya community, kita punya people semua. How does it work?
Yeah. So dalam kalau kita tengok standard lah kan, standard dan juga prinsipal kalau dari pensijilan aspek MSPO dan juga RSPO, diorang memang ada satu section yang ataupun kriteria yang diorang buat mandatory untuk semua company ataupun ladang untuk menjaga kebajikan dan juga ada itu set of safeguard for dorang punya pekerja lah, community. So di sana sekiranya semua company ni dorang mematuhi itu the standard, so definitely the community ataupun the workers will benefit lah. So dorang punya benefit adalah lebih kepada dorang punya livelihood, especially dorang in terms of dorang punya gaji, dorang dibayar secara transparent, setimpal, dan juga fair wages, so and then at the same time juga perlindungan dari untuk dorang punya dependent, especially dorang punya family di dalam ada dorang punya tempat tinggal yang kondusif, and then also untuk pekerja, sebab ada juga pekerja wanita di dalam ladang ni, so dorang ada itu facility yang khas untuk wanita, so ada itu gender punya so sebab ada juga wanita yang dorang perlu area untuk, contohnya dorang perlu berehat, so dorang ada dorang punya area spesifik. Even breastfeeding, breastfeeding section jugalah. So di sana ini sangat trending lah sekarang. They want memang gender based facility di dalam plantation. So so ini yang something yang make it mandatory for the company untuk fulfill, so that more aspect in terms of the human well-being aspect lah. And then other things is also to ensure that suara pekerja didengar. So ini adalah lebih kepada pendekatan dari aspek voices of the workers. Sebab kalau dalam plantation ni sometimes ada benda yang macam tidak puas hati lah, contohnya dorang punya gaduh ataupun diskriminasi, bully dalam so macam begitulah, like kita tidak tahu kan, ada juga yang mungkin dari aspek dorang punya kebebasan pergerakan, freedom of movement, sebab kadang-kadang ada ini memang terjadilah, ada pekerja yang dorang punya pasport ataupun permit ditahan, so ini semua dorang perlu diberikan freedom untuk pegang lah, untuk jaga jaga sebab itu jadi kalau ada apa-apa yang contohnya melanggar, sebab ini merupakan hak asasi manusia ataupun pekerja juga untuk di mana dorang punya dokumen dorang boleh pegang ya. Dan ada juga situasi di mana dorang bagi majikan yang jaga sebab mungkin
takut hilang,
takut hilang ya, keciciran kah begitu ya, tapi
lah,
secara apanya dorang ada itu kebebasan lah untuk pegang so sekiranya ada semua perkara ini dilanggar, so majikan perlu ada itu satu sistem di mana dorang boleh suarakan dorang punya masalah, iaitu biasa dipanggil mekanisme aduan lah. So ini sistem pun perlu ada, so dia sudah kena kasih set dalam standard jugalah, termasuk MSPO dan juga RSPO. So ini semua that's why bila kita adanya ini sustainable oil palm production, so semestinya all this yang tadi elemen yang saya mention tu dia akan benefit kepada community ataupun juga pekerja yang ada di ladang.
Wow, it sounds like macam MSPO ni kan, dia macam it's like a regulatory for a small community inside juga kan. Dia kira macam satu negara kecil gitu. That's how it seemed like to me lah. Wow.
Satu juga saya rasa dari segi dari segi benefit kita cakap tadi itu kan. Sebab apa-apa yang orang buat ini at the end of the day ada cost involved kan. So maksudnya kalau saya ada cost, kalau boleh saya mau ambil balik sikit lagi lah, kurangkan dan dapat sikit.
This is the business side of it.
So this is the business part of it. And normally orang cakap, what's it for me, but you know I do this.
Yes.
And this is where kita especially because we promote on moving from MSPO to RSPO. So RSPO is an international standard, and so this is where apart from working sama itu the growers themselves, we work with ini pembeli. You know, like big companies, big consumer goods manufacturer, Unilever, Nestle, contohnya lah kan. So we tell them, hey, there's these people here in Tawau, in Tabin, they are doing this. You buy from them lah. So
promote juga.
Promote juga lah. So because of that, mula-mula ini orang kebanyakannya mahal kan ya. So we try lah. So our first 25 smallholders yang sudah certify RSPO, then we say to buyer, kau tolonglah orang. So they bought, because of that they got extra. So they've been so the extra is the premium price lah. So maybe for the last 20 years they've been selling to the mills. Tapi because they are certified, they can get extra.
Betul.
Kalau you can get extra $50 ke $100, why not? Kan?
Why not?
I see.
So because of that, 25.
Because they're certified.
Boleh
lah mark up sikit.
Exactly.
For the community juga back
So
there.
sudah dapat itu. Now, kalau kau sudah dapat extra, kalau di kedai kopi kau bercerita apa kan?
Betul.
So then the next person, if I can, kalau si Max dapat tu, I want to do it also. So because of that, now about 75 of them sudah bilang, okay, I also want to do it.
Wow.
So that's how we apalah. It should be a win-win situation lah kan. So that's one of the benefits lah. We can on.
I see what you mean. Saya nampak relationship dari situ. So meaning these 25 companies that you're doing is an example for others. The smallholders, it's for others to follow.
Exactly, correct.
Kalau dia buat gini, Nestle buy itu beli sama diorang.
It's a domino effect lah.
That's right.
Wow.
And dia orang bilang bekerja sendiri bah. It's spreading begitu kan.
Bukan macam real Sula yang dia tolak sendiri itu Domino's turun tu kan.
Bukan itu bukan itu Instagram.
Not forced lah. This is natural punya lah kan.
I don't know who can answer this, but I would love to know macam mana yang memang ada perkampungan sedia di dalam PAM ni. For example lah di PAM ni kan memang dorang buat perkampungan for the workers. Tapi yang memang ada kampung ni.
Memang ada settlement orang asal.
Orang asal lah. How dia orang kadang-kadang pernah berlaku juga macam di Pahang, saya tengok macam yang gajah masuk apa semua tu kan. So, and then dia jadi debate bah yang macam dia bilang jadi ada juga yang bersuara yang ini memang tempat tinggal tu orang kita yang buat rumah di sini, buat perkampungan di sini, tapi ada juga yang debate bilang iyalah jadi macam mana kita mau hidup di sini kalau ada gajah langgar-langgar for example like that. What is the what exactly can we
Do about this,
do about this? What kind of approach ataupun apa yang kita boleh buat?
Maybe I can start with maybe then you can continue.
Alright.
So example yang saya bagi di apa itu di Tawau di
Okay.
Tabina.
Okay.
So dorang ada that kind of that kind of
berlaku.
berlaku.
Okay. Alright.
Okay. So what happened?
Hold on, Max. Di
Yeah.
Tabin kan, apa bangsa-bangsa orang di sana? Saya not really familiar with the
campur-campur
geography.
sana.
Campur-campur.
Oh.
Ada Tidung, ada Dusun Begak.
Ya.
Oh, Dusun Begak.
Ya.
Ya.
Dah pernah dengar.
Okay.
Okay,
mau pergi sana,
kasih
kan?
si Max.
Sorry, Max. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the full intro.
Yeah. So ini we call it apalah itu terminologi dah kita pakai itu human elephant conflict.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Konflik dengan gajah.
Ya, ya. Because gajah like you say memang dorang punya tempat ni dulu.
Betul.
Ya.
Ya.
So because kita ada pembangunan kan.
Oh.
So kita we develop that place. So because itu area memang gajah punya area. So what do you do? Kalau saya buat, saya kasih pagar.
Ya,
Right?
ya.
Kau bikin, kau kasih pagar.
Yeah.
So eventually pagar sana, pagar sini.
Banyak pagar.
Banyak pagar. Elephant
Mengamuk
dia mana dia baca
Ya,
apa
pagar.
dia baca map.
Ya.
Yang dia tahu ini jalan saya dulu.
Ya, betul.
Dia jalan saja.
Ya.
Then bila kena tutup, where would they go next?
Ya.
Dia pergi perkampungan lah, because perkampungan tiada kan.
Ya.
So that's the reason why in maybe about 5 years ago, 5-6 years ago,
Berlakulah.
kita panggil kita panggil all the plantation di Tawau. And then I was there, the first meeting and
Memang tense lah.
tense lah.
Tense
Oh,
lah.
that's not my problem.
Ya.
Saya punya okay.
Ya.
But eventually somehow after 2 or 3 meetings buka hati sudah.
Ya.
Dia bilang betul juga. So what we do is instead of saya pagar, I still pagar, but I make sure I work with you. Saya kasih sikit macam koridor lah.
Alright.
Supaya pagar
Ada
gitu.
laluan.
Itu kita panggil integrated fencing man.
Okay.
Right?
okay.
So that kau pagar, kau kasih kurang sikit, saya kasih kurang sikit supaya ada jalan.
Okay.
Okay. So dia masih jalan sana and dia
Ikut laluan dia lah.
dia laku jalan
dia
laluan
langgar lah tu rumah-rumah.
So
kampung.
dia tidak pergi itu perkampungan
Tanaman.
sudah. So that is one of the ways we manage that.
Okay.
So it's working everybody lah. Yeah.
Yang macam yang kau ada tanah sini, saya ada tanah di sini. Jadi sini kita punya rumah.
Tapi mau jalan situ macam mana?
Itulah itu. Kau bagilah 10 kaki, saya 10 kaki.
Ya, begitu.
Ya,
Bincang.
something like that. Ya.
Kalau anda macam mana mau
Ya.
jalan. We will go back to
Ya,
Shalin
ya.
sebentar lagi. Kita
Ya.
akan cerita pasal how the approach yang dia buat dengan community di kampung itu.
Yeah, man.
Kita akan berhasil bahas ini. Dan untuk kamu mengetahui lebih lanjut dengan WWF, kamu pergi www.org.my. Banyak cerita pasal WWF. Jangan ke mana-mana. Jangan kembali selepas ini. Selamat kembali ke slot yang ketiga bersama dengan WWF.
Yes, sir.
Kita ada Max di sini dan juga Charlene
Yeah, man.
yang memperkatakan ataupun sedang kita bercerita tentang the awareness tentang apa ni orang bilang
Sustainable palm oil.
palm oil dan
Yes.
juga outreach ataupun cara kita berbincang dengan masyarakat setempat ini bagaimana kita dapat win-win situation, diorang pun maju, kita pun maju dan kita masih jaga kita punya biodiversity. Yap.
Sabah Maju Jaya. Tersebut pula. Betul lah tu kan? Sama-sama lah kan?
Iya.
Kita, sorry.
Kau Ken kenapa? Betul lah Pak, kita mau Sabah yang maju jaya. Itu
Ya.
memang ada di jatah kita dari dulu lah ya sampai sekarang lah.
Ya, betul-betul.
Ya.
So,
Adakah kita maju?
maju.
Adakah kita jaya?
Jaya lah.
Ya, tapi jangan lupa untuk maju jaya itu kita kena jaga cara kita membuat ini pembangunan di Sabah ni lah.
Dan juga alam sekitar dia lah.
Itulah maksud saya. Ya.
Jadi, kita punya alam sekitar ni sebenarnya menarik banyak pelancong datang di
Betul?
sini.
Betul.
Tapi ada juga pelancong-pelancong yang datang sini dan juga people from the west
Alright.
bilang palm oil is not good.
Okay.
Palm tree semua, estate very big.
Okay.
Menghilangkan forest.
Okay.
So adalah diorang bilang
Ini
kita kena
kapitalis
boycott.
dia bilang.
Ya, betul lah tu. Kita kena boycott ini. So Apa pandangan expert kita tentang ini?
Yeah.
Perlukah kita boykot sampai begitu sekali?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Okay.
So boycott is not the answer actually. Why? Because ini palm oil is one of the most efficient oil, if you like. Contohnya ya, to get the same the same amount of oil, palm oil and sunflower or soybean it will take 4 to 10 more land to clear. Okay.
Oh, yalah, so dia kecil.
Yeah. So contohnya 1 hectare of oil palm plantation can get about 3.5 tons of palm oil.
Okay.
And then for soybean contohnya, for 1 hectare dorang boleh produce 0.3 ton saja.
Sikitnya.
So maksudnya you need at least
Berapa hektar?
8 kali. So
Tidak,
that means
tidak,
you need to clear.
Jangan boycott.
So if you say boycott, you still
not the way.
need palm oil kan? I mean you still need oil.
Yes.
So where do you go? You go to an alternative oil. So if you go for soy, you have to clear more.
Yeah.
So where is the where is the sustainability? So so that is not the answer. The answer is you produce sustainable palm oil because we need it. We need it. So and then we can already memang orang sudah produce sustainable palm oil. So why not just do it
efficiently,
yes,
properly, yang sama-sama orang bilang mendapat manfaat.
Yeah, good agriculture practices. And then to add on about the boycott, if we boycott this, then what about those people yang sudah tanam orang punya palm oil yang secara kecil-kecilan. Sebab bukan setakat company besar, tapi kita ada juga yang smallholder yang tanam less than 50 hectare. And then we also need to think about those family yang migrate from other country to here to look for livelihood. And then also what will happen to them? And then kalau dorong kita boycott secara begitu saja because atas dasar nama kapitalis. So jadi we need to do a bit of critical thinking on that. Like livelihood people akan so and then again because if you selalunya kalau ataupun satu keluarga yang bergantung kepada penanaman kelapa sawit ni memang dorang susah untuk mencari alternatif alternative agriculture lah lagi selepas tu. So all of this need to be considered. So that's why sustainable palm oil is the way because of the good but also have to implement the good agricultural practices lah.
Because 50%, more than 50% actually itu produk di supermarket. From palm oil dari makanannya,
even our skincare.
Semua actually.
How about kita benter pasal ni? How about healthy lifestyle? Healthy lifestyle by not eating so much of consume banyak minyak lah. Tapi mana boleh itu. Boleh. Not lah guring pisang di Tanjung Aru sedap. We do understand that lah. I mean this is the best practice, the best way. Cuma kita kena do it properly and the awareness need to spread it to everybody.
Exactly.
So that at least semua dapat manfaat. I can see the reason why. Bukan saja yang menanam ini, bukan saja ini yang big company ini, tapi semua dapat manfaat. Termasuk yang consumer, termasuk yang tinggal di ladang itu, the settlement ataupun juga maksud saya
peluang pekerjaan.
Peluang. The whole thing lah.
The whole thing kan.
So cara dia adalah if you cannot fight, you join but properly lah, orang bilang gitu kan. Right.
And there's no such thing as, inilah bahasa saya dengar ini, boycott and then boycott the bad ones and then boycott the good ones. I guess there's no such thing as good palm oil or bad palm oil, gitu kan.
Like I say, the palm oil is palm oil, right? So but the way how you do it, that's the most important thing.
Betul. I want to talk about the government punya effort lah. Memandangkan NGO ni selalu nak kena pandang, to be frank lah. Because dia non-government kadang bilang tidak penting. Banyak gitu kan. To be frank pun kalau ada kadang-kadang yang di airport tu kan dorang kasi limpas kan kesian juga. Kadang-kadang dorang came to me, but saya sudah daftar juga kan. Berapa kali saya perlu daftar. So kadang saya kesian juga dorang suruh daftar apa semua kan. But selalu macam tidak berapa dipandang. So in terms of government punya take pasal WWF lah, jangan cerita NGO lain lah. This is WWF. Are they being cooperative enough? Adakah kita punya menteri ini selalu memanggil kamu berbincang cara-cara untuk how to approach the people down there, how to implement the cara penanaman yang sebenar, yang mengikut peraturan. How's the government been doing with WWF so far?
I'm happy to share for the state government. They are very proactive lah.
Alright.
And contohnya ini jurisdiction certification ini. It's a government punya apa ini initiative.
Dia sampai dibahaskan untuk diaktakan.
So other states I cannot talk for other states lah. Tapi Sabah so far Sabah is doing that, right?
Good to hear.
And dorang punya policy, contohnya policy taking care of the forest. So they pledge 50% of the forest cover in Sabah should be protected, right? And then on top of that, they bilang 30% should be totally protected area. So
jangan tanam di 30%.
Exactly.
Alright.
So right now it's about 27%. So
almost. Wow, amazing.
So they have this initiative, and making sure that apa-apa laws yang supposed to be taken care, I mean to be followed, so that they make sure that the industry follow lah.
Okay.
Enforcement.
Enforcement. Not all, but ada, So I think that is telling that the government is doing their role.
Ini for real kan, bukan?
Yes, for real. Yes, for real.
Good one.
So we want to have more lah actually.
Betul. We want all of them lah, tidak kira menteri apapun. And also actually going on right now is pre-election advocacy campaign yang mana WWF ini sedang beri awareness kepada anda untuk berkempen bersama-sama. Isi borang apa yang kita akan bagi di link nanti, yang mana kita mau tahu kamu punya awareness tentang yang sedang berlaku ni lah. Antaranya, adakah kamu mau pemimpin yang meninggalkan ataupun tidak memasukkan dalam diorang punya propaganda ataupun diorang punya agenda ataupun diorang punya manifesto tentang alam sekitar. Adakah diorang ni selepas diorang jadi wakil rakyat, adakah diorang cakap tak serupa bikin ke ataupun diorang still
walk the talk.
Walk the talk. So kita kan bagi di link di bawah kami. We want to encourage every one of you to fill up the link ataupun scan the QR so that kamu terus boleh isi. Soalan pun senang, jangan tak sampai 1 minit, janganlah pening-pening fikir. Tapi yes, we want to know how the mindset ataupun kita ni adakah dalam pemikiran yang sama di Sabah ini, yang mana kita pun cintai kita punya alam sekitar. Dan kita mau kita punya wakil rakyat ni bukan wakil rakyat biasa-biasa. Kita mau yang memikirkan tentang alam sekitar, biodiversity, yang jaga kita punya persekitaran dan sebagainya.
Betul. Dan kita punya power ni dalam tangan kita inilah.
Betul.
Yes. So dalam kau punya jari inilah untuk tekan-tekan.
Jawab di phone.
Jawab sekarang juga. Kau nampak ni video, kau jawab sekarang. Nanti lepas tu kau continue episode yang lain lah gitu.
Betul. Shailene, I want to ask you about the outreach yang so far you guys have been. How long have you been? Macam mana kau boleh termasuk
actually, okay. Interesting question, because actually this is my second year in WWF.
Kau pun accountant kan dulu atau tidak?
I've always been working with community lah, but in different NGO, different organizations. So this year is my second year in WWF. So I'm continuing the work in terms of developing the social aspect in Sabah Landscape Program. So for this podcast, I mean in this context, my work mostly engage with the community in plantation. So one of it just now we mentioned about human-elephant conflict,
Correct,
kan?
correct.
So that's where my role came in, like facilitating the negotiation and then also the consultation with the community on how they want to bring on about this conflict, because yelah susah batu kalau sudah
Ya,
gajah
betul-betul.
masuk ya, and then macam mana kami punya tangki lah, motor lah,
Yalah.
kadang-kadang separuh rumah ataupun dorang punya balcony tu memang kaki lima dorang memang rosak lah. So sana actually kami kerja dengan team Elephant juga yang memang expert in terms of management movement of the elephant, how do we want to mitigate. So
Ada WWF ataupun dorang
yeah,
memang?
WWF juga.
Alright.
But as well as we work with pejabat daerah, with the company plantation di sekeliling, dan juga NGO lain lah yang seperti Seratus Atai juga lah untuk work together in terms of collaring this elephant, ya, untuk tengok macam mana movement orang supaya tahu mana itu strategically the fencing. But I think this is a more technical discussion lain nanti. Tapi in terms of the community, a lot of negotiation have to be done, and then juga community pun perlu ada itu ownership in terms of dorang in terms of the initiative dalam mengendalikan pergerakan ini elephant. So di sana dan juga dalam aspek kesedaran. Kenapa di elephant masuk dalam kampung diorang, dan kenapa kenapa diorang punya kampung jadi aim, jadi target begitu. So slowly itu kesedaran untuk mau coexist with elephant kan slowly kena instill lah. Jadi memang dia bukan masa yang sekejap. Contohnya ada satu perkampungan di Tungku, kami fokus. Dia dari tahun 2018 selalu kena masuk. Jadi tahun 2020 tu baru start itu consultation with community, di mana mau pasang fencing dalam kampung dorang pun mau
Why is it taking so long? Like 4 years sudah? How is it?
Yeah, so now 4 years dorang sendiri ada itu community ranger team. Ya, dia buat pemantauan dan juga kalau dorang monitor juga tu fencing yang di kampung dorang. So ini semua datang daripada ownership of the initiative lah, I said. And then at the same time we also ensure that bukan saja ini ranger community ranger team yang ambil inisiatif, but also masyarakat sekeliling lah, kumpulan wanita, belia, kanak-kanak, dorang faham kenapa ini
perlu dibuat lah.
Ya, kenapa semua ini perlu dilakukan secara bekerjasama. Ya, so jadi kami juga monitor dorang punya perception daripada dalam aspek keselamatan. Mula-mula tu memang sangat dari ramai-ramai orang tu 2-3 orang saja yang rasa selamat kalau sekiranya hidup bersama dengan elephant.
Coexist.
Yeah, and then setiap tahun kena measure, and with all this mitigation and also HEC management in place, then dorang rasa selamat lah, dan dorang faham kenapa perlunya kita menjaga juga gajah, dan lama-lama dorang rasa special sebab dorang punya kampung ada history, and dorang ada inisiatif, dan dorang boleh survive. So that's how we work with the community lah yang affected by elephant ataupun kemasukan gajah.
Does it involve the local authority?
Yes.
Yeah,
so ini memang dia perlu multi-stakeholder discussion, consultation. So bukan saja WWF, tapi Jabatan Hidupan Liar pun ada. Macam yang saya bilang tadi, pejabat daerah pun perlu involve. Dorang perlu sebab it's very important for us to involve the authority lah, sebab supaya kita tidak work in silo, tapi work collaboratively together.
Ya, betul. Properly lah.
Ya, itulah.
It's proper.
I know we are coming to the end of the session, tapi please entertain me on this. We used to have a guest from an NGO yang advocate pasal ecotourism, about the gajah.
What's the name again?
I forgot. Yeah,
kami ada session with him.
Yes, I think it was a few years ago. Do you guys were involved in the ecotourism of the gajah, working together with the plantation? I think it was in Tawau or Sandakan gitu.
Ya, dia macam bawa datang kan, lepas tu pergi spectate ataupun pergi pergi melawat ni kawasan-kawasan gajah ni, tapi di kawasan-kawasan macam kelapa sawit begitu kan.
Yeah. So they're working with the local estate, the locals macam gitu. Dia macam elephant safari in Africa, but in Sabah. Did you guys heard about this?
Barangkali
you guys encourage or not encourage this thing?
Barangkali yang story yang saya cakap tadi itu mungkin kena mengena sama itulah.
I think so.
Because ini company that we working on, dorang because they set aside.
Yes.
It's about 1,000 hektar tau.
Oh, okay.
So that means they foregoing itu opportunity to develop that land. So it must be in the millions lah kan. So right now apa dia mau buat is they want to do macam ecotourism. Because itu gajah memang itu area sudah dorang punya dorang panggil dorang punya permanent resident dia bilang.
Permanent resident.
PR.
So I believe yang company yang kamu refer tu probably doing some with this company lah, I think.
I see.
Yeah.
What are your views on this? Is this a good thing or?
So I think for us at the end of the day, if it is protected and the safety is terjaga and it doesn't affect dorang punya dia punya keselamatan.
It's good enough. Why not?
Good. Yeah. Because that's their land. They want to they want to diversify dorang punya income. I'm letting go my land, saya tidak tanam kelapa sawit.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Oh, this coming election is coming up really soon. Tak tahu bila ni bubar ni. But what do you think this leaders? Do you think these leaders, the politician, these upcoming leaders ataupun yang leaders sekarang ni, do you think should they support this sustainable agriculture punya practice? Should they practice this thing atau macam mana, atau masukkan dalam dia orang punya ini manifesto? What is the thing?
Okay, firstly
firstly, vote for WWF.
Firstly, like I mentioned earlier on, itu survey, tolong kasih
Fill in dulu.
Fill in ya.
Bukan
And then
scam.
share. Okay.
Bukan scam.
Bukan scam tu ni.
Bukan scam menang iPhone.
Google Form, easy. Yes. Kami pun sudah isi.
Yeah, and I think dia punya trend sekarang ni kan, because the muda-muda sekarang dia think the way they think different from most of us.
Yes.
So they're thinking about conservation, about sustainability.
Betul.
It's in their mind already. So I think itu politicians sekarang they have to follow this because end of the day, like you say, dorang punya the vote is in their hand.
Yeah.
So whether you like it or not, you should take conservation as your main put in your manifesto.
Yes.
And do it.
Yeah.
Not just bilang I want to do it and yet you don't do it. Okay. So I think conservation should be part and parcel of your manifesto.
Yes. And also bila menang tu pastikan betul-betul diikutlah kan. Dibuat.
Ini bikin tarik orang saja, mana boleh kan?
Ya, mesti. I think this is, kita dah bercerita dengan Dr. Rebecca juga dia pun cakap inilah juga masa kita sebagai voters ni untuk melihat semula dia orang punya bila dia orang menang ni adakah dia orang betul-betul laksanakan ataupun tidak lah.
Mungkin kau punya vote tu satu saja. Maybe it's just a drop. But if many drops, it becomes ripple. It becomes many ripple, they become tidal wave. So change can happen on that on that aspect lah.
Together possible.
Yes.
Betul.
Together many drops, tsunami. Yes.
Yeah.
Make big change lah.
Iyalah. Charlene, what is your message to the voters for this upcoming election ni?
Yep. So coming from I'm quite young lah, okay? Yeah, so
how old are you?
Undi 18.
Undi 18 especially.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would say we have more voters, younger voters now who are more progressive and they know how to do research. So I think semua kita punya politician ada dorang punya track record ba.
Betul.
So this can be done through even in social media. So you can easily be researched by everyone.
ChatGPT pun ada
senang
sekarang.
saja. So I think also especially for the young voters, look at the calon especially. What have they done in the past, their work, and how they want, when they leverage, when they go into this election, look at dorang punya main agenda, main vision lah, especially not just for the manifesto, but you can see the pattern lah actually. If they've been doing a lot of good works on the ground, then definitely there's a hope for them to walk the talk, to walk the manifesto. So that's the thing yang one of the I think you should be able to track lah. And then also when especially this one is for my how I see most of the calon is like, if you know in your area, especially for the calon, if you know in your kawasan ada sudah itu kawasan totally protected area TPA, hutan simpan. So you know you have that macam asset in your kawasan, and that's something that you want to continue protecting and also leverage on in your advocacy, in your work lah, especially in kawasan kau. So I think especially those contohnya macam di Lada tu Tawa, we have a lot of things to conserve. So that's one of the thing that you need to see. Kau punya calon pandai ke tidak, dorang kasih connect dorang punya manifesto ni, what's happening on the ground, and especially the bekalan air, elektrik, jalan ya. So itu yang sangat penting ya. So that's for me.
How about you, Max? How about you? For these young voters atau these voters lah, ataupun you can also say about these policy makers lah.
I think in terms of kalau sustainable palm oil lah kan, I think the government they have done what they've been doing. So continue on doing that and support whatever sustainable development agenda out there that we are doing. So that is one. Secondly, like si Sharon cakap, the young voters.
Yes.
So look for calon-calon yang is going to deliver that, you know, and for I think for the politician, if you say you are doing it, do it, right? Because like you say, ChatGPT, they can easily do ChatGPT, do on their own, and they're doing it already actually. Whether they the politician like know it or not, they're doing it already. So I think that's my message to
to
Datuho.
Just for the record, Charlene sounded like a political analyst when she delivered hers. So this is the way to go, guys.
So guys, everyone yang ada menonton ini episod ini, dan kita akan cuba cari mana-mana yang kita boleh FYP supaya kita boleh spread more news about this.
Yes sir.
Banyak orang dah tahu pasalnya. Kami banyak belajar lah with WWF ni, to be frank.
So that's a good.
More episode please.
We need to learn more. And also we want to advocate people juga di Sabah, sebab kita ni besar. Kita patut bangga kita ada gajah sini. Di England mana ada gajah jalan-jalan di hutan dorang kan?
Very true.
England lah kau
sini
terus
ada jauh. I mean we should be really proud apa kita punya banyak. Kita ada dolphin, kita ada beruang, kita ada macam-macam di sini.
But it's a pity lah the rhinoceros.
Rhinos kita sudah tidak.
Don't let that happen to our elephants.
Very true.
Iya, dah lama tu babi hutan pun mau pupus sudah juga kan. I did talk about that last time.
Bakas.
#save our bakas.
Itulah kamu timbak sejak kamu banyak-banyak kamu jual lah.
Lebih di sawit banyak tuh.
Banyak kan? Jangan kasih tahu nanti dong pikir saya menembak. But anyway, what we can conserve. Kalau kita dapat conserve, kita spread the news ataupun orang bilang this campaign awareness ni ataupun pre-election advocacy campaign.
Yes sir.
Kita mau kamu tahu yang ada WWF ni tengah berusaha keras dan kita cuba membantu WWF juga. Dan mana kamu tahu pasal ni? We never know, man. Seriously, kami tak tahu.
Zero.
So once again, thank you very much to Max and Charlene for your sharing. Hopefully we can see you guys again, and hopefully one day kan kami pun ikut sekali podcast sama orang kampung di sana. Why not kan, sama tu orang pump police station sana, kita bawa dong cerita pasal apa yang dorang anu kan. Why not?
It would be nice.
And then also mungkin lepas bubar nanti kita bawa tu wakil rakyat sekali cerita pasal betul kah kau tahu apa pasal ini barang ni.
Interrogate
kau pegang ini kementerian, kau tahu ini yang WWF pada turun padang ini ada apa bantuan kau sama dorang. I mean iyalah kan? Is it kan? We want to know, right? Bukan kita mau hantam. Kita tidak menidakkan pembangunan, tapi mesti ada cara dan jalan yang terbaik lah.
Betul. So do your part, man.
Thank you so much, Max. Thank you so much,
Thank
Hailey,
you for having us.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
want to have more of them. Thank you so much. Jadi podcast ini dibawakan kepada anda oleh WWF Malaysia, sebuah organisasi pemuliharaan yang berdedikasi untuk melindungi alam semula jadi Malaysia dari hutan hujan tropika dan orang hutan yang comel hinggalah ke terumbu karang serta penyu di lautan.
Ya, menjelang pilihan raya umum negeri Sabah ke-17 penghujung tahun ini.
Undi ono WWF.
Yes, undi ono. Do your part. WWF Malaysia ingin menjemput rakyat Sabah yang berdaftar sebagai pengundi untuk mengutarakan pendapat tentang isu alam sekitar yang memberikan kesan kepada anda. Seterusnya bersama-sama berganding bahu membentuk sebuah Sabah yang mampan, one vote at a time. Together possible.
Betul.
Yes.
Together possible.
Yes.
Jadi jom kenali kami di seluruh sosial media kami hari ini atau terus saja ke www.wwf.org.my. Saya ulangi www.org.my.
Ya.
Saya Ricardo.
Saya Kenny.
Saya Max.
Saya Sherlan.
Kami dari Kinabalu Podcast bergabung dengan WWF. Ciao, xin ciao.
Ciao, bella ciao.
Right now, we're facing a man-made disaster of global scale. Our greatest threat in thousands of years, climate change. If we don't take action, the collapse of our civilizations and the extinction of much of the natural world is on the horizon.